Oh boy. So here's where we're at right now. We got some Amazon packages. That's always good. So as you can tell, I bought a 3D printer and started prototyping stuff. Now, what is on the printer right now is the prototype for the steering knuckle. The printer I bought is actually large enough to print that whole thing, as you can tell by the layout with all the support structure in there right now. Now, it's my first time ever printing something that big, so whether it's gonna work or not, who knows? Still trying to get that figured out. It's a 2.5 day print on something that large, but you know what, if it works, I'll at least know my geometry and all that's correct, and all my pickup points and everything are correct, and you know, it'll save me the time in the long run of actually spending money and cutting billet stuff. So, you know, 2 days on the printer is whatever to make sure it actually works. Now, things I already got printed off. We went ahead and did our coilover conversion brackets there. So we have the lower one. This one just came off the printer yesterday. Haven't put it on yet, but that's going to replace the upper right there. And when I say replace, I do not mean that these are going to be staying in there. I mean that, for example, this kind of welded together deal will be replaced by a billet cut of that. We just kind of wanted to go ahead and 3D print it first to make sure everything fit, which it does. I do want to change a little bit of one of the radiuses by maybe 1/8 of an inch, so it'll bring it in a little bit more, and then after that, that bracket's good. Still got to put this one on, test fit this, but from the look of it, it looks like it's going to fit good. And like that, with the magic of cutting my camera off and bolting something on, there we go. So you can see the difference between the old bracket, which is all that, and what the new bracket will be when it's nice and billet cut. So I think that looks a hell of a lot nicer, having the brackets like that. And that's something that if I wanted to reproduce as a kit for people, it wouldn't be too expensive to actually make that. Like, say I got 10 of those bracket kits cut, I could sell them for relatively cheap probably. And right now the cheapest rear coilover conversion kit for this car is $1,200 or $1,300, and that's for a non-adjustable shock. Now, the nice thing about this bracket kit is, or say you want to do coilover conversion on your car, but a lot of guys that run track cars, drift cars, stuff like that, their cars are set up a specific way for a specific, you know, shock valving, whatever shock they want to run, whatever spring rate they want to run. So what I would do is I would sell just the bracket kit, because it uses a universal style shock, an eyelet, you know, 1-inch diameter, 1/2-inch hole bearing mount on both sides, which I haven't really seen any of the other kits offer something like that. So what it would do is allow you to buy the bracket kit and then run whatever shock and spring you want. So you buy the mount kit for $500 and then put whatever shocks and springs on it you want. You know, I could give you an idea of a ballpark of shock length to run, but depending on how you want your ride height to be, what spring rate you want to run, you know, you could get the proper length shock and spring for your application, and you don't have to spend, you know, anywhere from $1,500 to $5,000 on a conversion kit. You can spend $500 on a bracket, and then you can go out and buy $100 corner shocks if you want, or you could spend $1,000 a corner on a shock if you really want to. But I think it'll just allow for more customization and, you know, the ability to fine-tune your vehicle the way you want it. Now, ideally, this isn't going to be it's kind of a niche market product like all the other stuff I've designed for the GTO in the past and stuff like that. It's not something that everybody's just gonna, it's not targeted to the general Mustang audience. It's targeted more towards track guys that want to be able to adjust and dial their car in the way they like it. I'm not trying to sell to like street cars that want coilovers, or drag race guys that just want the best 60-foot times, you know. It's more of a specific style kit, kind of like angle kits. I think it might be a cheaper alternative to doing a coilover conversion on the cars if the consumer is willing to put in the work to figure out the shock and spring they want, which if you don't know how to set a car up like that, then it's not something that I think you really need. Stock shock and spring location is probably more ideal for you, but one of the best benefits to having this setup is without having the giant spring in there anymore preloaded on that control arm, it makes servicing the rear suspension super easy. So you just undo one of these bolts, you can drop everything down, get stuff out of the way. You don't have to worry about preloading the suspension with that spring in there. Makes taking this control arm off and taking other arms off super easy. So that's one of the biggest benefits and why I actually went over to coilover conversion. Now, figuring out your spring rates and all that, the math's out there. It's not too hard to find and calculate it. You just got to know what your weight on your vehicle is, your wheel rates. You have to know your fulcrum points off of your suspension pickups to determine your spring rate. So say your spring's inboard here, so originally the spring is further in, now we're moving the spring out, so your spring rate is going to be softer than what it was before in order to have basically the same effective rate on the spring, just because of the fulcrum, or I don't really know if it's a fulcrum, but the motion ratio change. And then you also have to take into consideration ride height for how far inboard that is off of where the wheel is. So obviously these numbers aren't exact, I'm just ballparking out there, but if you have 3 inches of wheel travel here, depending on how far in your pickup is, that's going to translate to maybe 2 inches of travel here, or 1.5 inches. I'm excited for everything we're doing right now in the off season and getting all these billet parts made and cut. The steering knuckle will be huge. I did start doing the camber arm, so I have the camber arm pretty much drawn out. I did rear toe arm, so I did design a rear billet toe arm that instead of using a sleeve in the center as a double adjuster, this is all one piece right here, and then it has like a slit and a clamp style, and it uses a double adjuster sleeve in the end with a 3/4 heim joint. And I designed all new offset spacers so I don't have to use washers or any of that stuff. And then I started putting the front control arms into CAD. So these arms right here, I did start drawing these into CAD. Those are a little bit more difficult to do just because there's a lot more angles. So, you know, you have your straight plane off the subframe, but you can see how far out this arm comes. And then you have your up over your other pickup angle, your input angle there, your clearance for the tire on the lock side there. Now I have my sway bar pickup on my control arm right there because of my engine bay mounted sway bar, which surprisingly works really good on this car. I love that thing. That thing turned out perfect. But this is one of the things that I have been considering putting into CAD. Now these arms do work really well, but if I can make them out of billet, I am going to consider doing that. Now I've also been working on a couple other little things, little knick-knack stuff that I've been needing for the car. For example, a steering wheel hook. I know they're cheap, they're like 20 bucks for a wheel hook, but I keep forgetting to buy one, so I just spent 5 minutes and drew up a steering wheel hook, and I'm just gonna 3D print it out of ABS. So I mean, it's not like anything structural, it just needs to hold the steering wheel when I'm in the pits. So yeah, I'm just gonna 3D print that. That'll be fine. I'm trying to think what else I've been drawing up and working on. So yeah, other than the coilover stuff that I just showed you guys, I'll just show you some of the other stuff I've been working on here. So we have, this is just kind of like the steering wheel hook that I've been drawing, that I drew up real quick. Just something super easy. just print that out of ABS plastic, and that'll be fine for what I need it to do. We have, this is the rear lower control arm design I was telling you guys about. So one single piece, and then it uses a clamp style with a double adjuster sleeve. And that's why you can see this heim joint that I have right here is a little bit smaller than that hole. So it'll use this little double adjuster right here with a left-hand thread heim joint, which is that. We kind of made new offset spacers for the subframe distance, and then these are kind of little lockout tabs to cover up where the slots are in the subframe for the factory toe adjustment, and all the adjustment will be done in the heim joint. And then, you know, I showed you guys the steering knuckle already. I downloaded a CAD file for a LS block in case I want to design brackets or anything like that. There's a little catch tank that I've been messing with on in some free time. Just kind of thinking about making like billet catch tank or something like that. This is me more just playing around and trying to just learn the software a little bit more, because I did kind of just teach myself CAD over the weekend, so I'm not an expert at it yet, so I've just been playing around with some stuff trying to learn it a little bit more. And then we have our rear camber arm. So this is kind of the rear camber arm design I'm working on here, and just kind of make it my own. And it will use spherical bearing instead of bushing, because most of the aftermarket ones currently use bushings, so this will use a spherical bearing style mount. And same thing down here with a double adjuster sleeve out to the knuckle. That way all the camber adjustment can be done just by turning the adjuster sleeve. Now I will probably need to put a jam nut on it for this one, because there's not really room to put a clamp style on there, but I think it's a good design, should work. Now a lot of this stuff that I'm drawing up here and doing is all basically just for my own car. I'm not trying to do it, it's kind of loud out here because that printer, I'm not trying to do it to make money off of or sell a bunch of these parts. It's more just for me, for designing my own parts and, you know, making everything myself. So, but anyways, that's gonna be it for this one. Just kind of want to keep you guys posted, show you what I'm doing. You know, all the stuff I've been printing and prototyping and moving forward and kind of taking that next step on everything I've been doing. So it's gonna be it for this one. So like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you're new, follow the builds along. Comment down below, let me know if there's anything I should make, or even that I could 3D print to make for the car that's non-structural, brackets, anything like that you guys think of, let me know. I'm always interested in making new stuff. So till the next one, I'll catch you guys later.